listening to Pharmacy, IT, and Me, your informatics pharmacist podcast. Welcome to another episode of Pharmacy, IT, and Me. As with every episode, we start off this one stating that the intended audience are pharmacy students or newcomers to the field. So today we'll be going over what the medication use process is, and I'll give a brief overview on some of the technologies that are used and affect each step of the way. And we'll be focusing on the inpatient medication use process for today's episode. We'll explain the medication use process and the system that does not have a lot of technological efficiencies first. Then we'll go over how each step can be optimized with technology. So what is the medication use process? You can kind of think of it like it's the life cycle of medication, from the very beginning of the order all the way to the end of the cycle through administration and monitoring. The medication use process is broken down into 4 parts: ordering, transcribing, dispensing, and administering the medication. There's also a 5th phase that some call the monitoring phase, depending on the resource that you're referring to. So in the ordering phase, this is where the order is actually placed. This phase starts with the provider and the patient meeting, and the patient's history and physical assessments are being done by the provider. After the provider determines what treatment plan he or she wants to place on the patient, the provider will place the order for that regimen. This can come in the form of labs, medications, nursing tasks, and more, but we'll be focusing on the medication portion of it. The next step is transcribing. So prior to the existence of electronic health records, there would be a lot of rewriting and re-entering done. Basically, the nurse would need to find the chart and then copy the order from the chart over to their medication administration record, or the MAR. In addition, they would need to fax a copy of the order to the pharmacy, and then the pharmacist would need to transcribe the order over to the pharmacy system's database to prepare for the dispensing step. So then we move on to dispensing. So the pharmacist prints the label out, and then the pharmacy technician fills the medication. After that, the pharmacist verifies that the medication has been filled correctly. This is also the step where technicians would prepare IV medications if needed, if they need to be compounded. And again, the pharmacist would check the medication before it gets delivered to the nursing unit. And then we finally hit the administration step. And in this step, the nurse receives the medication from the pharmacy delivery. At this moment, they would check the medication with their written MAR and ensure that the medication is correct for the patient. If all is good, then the nurse will administer the medication to the patient. After this, the patient is continually monitored by the clinical staff for any side effects or the efficacy. So how do we optimize the medication use process? So from listening to me talk about the entire medication use process, you can probably imagine that there are way too many steps, and one mistake can throw the whole process off. This is where some of the current technologies available can actually optimize the medication use process to reduce the potential risk of error. I'll break this down again by the phases of the medication use process. So let's talk about ordering. In the ordering phase, the provider may be ordering the wrong dose or the wrong medication on the formulary. In addition, their handwriting can actually be an issue later on for other members of the healthcare team to read. So having CPOE, or computerized provider order entry, will greatly improve the ordering process. In addition, clinical decision support can also guide the providers in this step to order the most appropriate doses or to remind them of patient statuses that they may have forgotten about, such as if a patient meets the requirements to be switched from an IV antibiotic to a PO antibiotic. Now, the next step is transcribing. The transcription step is always naturally prone to error because of the handwriting legibility. And as stated before, CPOE will help remedy that, because if the system already has the provider enter it electronically, there's less need or no need to transcribe anything. In addition, the pharmacy verification system and the MAR are integrated as part of the electronic health record in the same application. So this integration means there's less of a need for a transcription step for the provider's orders, since everything's going to be going off the same order. Now the next part is really big. It's the dispensing step. And the primary issue with the dispensing step is accuracy and the amount of time for dispensing. There are actually a lot of technologies that can help with this step. In terms of having medications readily available, some technologies include an automated dispensing cabinet, which are kind of like vending machines that are located at the nursing unit. When a medication is verified and it also happens to be located at the machine, the pharmacist can unlock that cabinet for that particular medication upon verification. This allows the nurse to retrieve the medication without much of a delay, and the patient gets their medication in a timely manner. In terms of accuracy, there are also barcoding technologies for dispensing. For example, in the automated dispensing cabinet, the pharmacy technician will need to refill the pockets with the medications if they are low in stock. Now, without a barcoding system, the pharmacy technician will possibly fill it with the wrong medication. However, with a barcoding system, the tech would need to scan the pocket and then scan the medication to confirm if it matches what is supposed to be filled in that pocket. Therefore, it would prevent the likelihood of an error. Now for IV compounding, there are also IV workflow applications out there that can help ensure the pharmacy technician follows the correct steps to prepare the medication. Without software applications like this, the typical workflow is that the tech would prepare it in the IV room, and then the pharmacist would check it at the end of the compounding steps. But the issue here is that the pharmacist does not know if the technician did all the right steps in between. The IV workflow application provides an ability to see each step through cameras and weight measurements, so the pharmacist has to check off that the tech drew the appropriate dose before injecting it into the bag. And other related technologies that would improve workflow that I won't get into it today are crash cart optimization applications, IV robotics, TPN robotics, and a clinical surveillance application. So let's move on to the next step, which is the administration step. One of the primary technologies at this step is the barcoded medication administration. This is useful because the nurse would scan the medication and the patient's wristband to ensure that there's a match for the medication in hand with the order that was placed for that patient, and the 5 rights are achieved. In addition, smart pumps with guardrails are another technology at the administration level that would improve patient care because they have a library built in to prevent nurses from administering medications at too high of a rate. If there's a two-way communication built, then the smart pumps would also have the additional feature of pre-populating with the infusion parameters from the original order in the EHR. So hopefully by now you can see how different technologies can improve certain steps of the medication use process. The technology of healthcare is improving, and if we are able to integrate what's available to the healthcare workflow, then we can see an improvement in patient care as well. Alright, if you like this episode, you can subscribe and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your other favorite podcasting services. You can also follow us on social media on Twitter or Facebook at PharmacyITme, or our Instagram at Pharmacy Informatics, or you can email us at pharmacyitme@gmail.com. And you can also follow me on my personal Twitter account at TonyDowPharmD. Also, I wanted to plug a great networking opportunity called Pharmacist Connect. If you are familiar with Microsoft Teams or Slack, think of it as a vetted space through Slack workspaces, and I've actually met a lot of great colleagues on it. And there's even an informatics space in it as well. And you can find out more by visiting pharmacistconnect.com, which is PharmacistConnect.com. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Pharmacy IT and Me. And remember, technology is a tool, patient care is the goal.